Hi, I'm Zihang Huang. Today I'm gonna talk about harmonizing economic growth and environmental preservation, decoupling pollution from prosperity. First, I'm gonna talk about abstract. Environmental pollution and climate change effects being experienced by present global populations can be attributed to the economic growth. With the increase in industrialization, the generation of waste without proper treatment and disposal has resulted in polluted air that risks the health of the population. It has also resulted in increased global Earth temperatures, which have in turn affected the agricultural productivity of the Earth, a primary source of livelihood for human populations. Despite these great consequences, there can be a harmonious existence of economic growth and reduce environmental pollution through decoupling. Government efforts are critical in the implementation of decoupling efforts, with their commitments expressed through policies and legislations. So, let's start from the introduction. Human population depends on clean environments for optimum living conditions. Where pollution exists, the quality of life is compromised. Climate change fueled by environmental degradation can be linked to the global health burden, as environmental ecosystems are responsible for the food we eat and the water we consume. So there are many different kinds of pollutions. For example, the water pollution, the air pollution. The unsafe water results in inadequate sanitation and hygiene, contributing to health issues that drive morbidity rates high and affect the economic productivity within the affected zones. And the polluted air is harmful to plants, animal, and human life as it threatens the efficiency of respiratory systems, increasing morbidity. So these effects are more nuanced for communities living in low-income zones where pollution is rampant and higher climate vulnerability exists. Okay, let's talk about the economic risk. Firstly, climate change not only affects the visible temperature and precipitation aspects, but also poses a risk to the economic outputs of global populations. The Industrial Revolution of 18th century led to high manufacturing and economic activities that increased greenhouse gas emissions. These gases include carbon monoxide, ozone, and methane, which has resulted in a steady increase in the Earth's temperature of between 1.5 to 1 Celsius in the past 100 years and has been projected to increase to about 1 Celsius by 2050. So, a result of increasing temperatures has been recorded in disruptions of water security and worsened human health. Polar ice has been recorded to be melting at a faster rate compared to pre-industrial times, resulting in rising seawater levels. Coastal regions are now being inundated due to rising sea levels, which affects coastal populations and their ability to utilize arable lands for agriculture, impacting food security. In addition, dry soil cannot support tree growth, resulting in higher evaporation rates in oceans, compounding the greenhouse gas effect affects the food, water, and the general security of the global population. Then the population increase also pushes the climate change effect, reducing available land for agriculture or forests. Secondly, higher population concentrations in cities have increased the generation of greenhouse gases, which have affected the respiratory health of the populations. In addition to air pollution, population increase has resulted in land degradation. Land degradation results in reduced productivity of land due to erosion that scraps off the fertile soil layer, depositing the sediments in areas not suitable for agriculture like water reservoirs Economic losses due to degradation are linked to reduced agronomical outputs from previously arable land, as well as reduced areas for agriculture practice. An extended effect of climate change as a consequence of greenhouse gas effect and land degradation is droughts. Globally, the frequency and intensity of droughts is increasing. The high temperatures as a result of greenhouse gases increase aridity in dryland areas and have severe effects on the precipitation patterns, which drive the occurrence of droughts. Droughts affect livelihoods by affecting terrestrial ecosystems like plant growth and elemental biochemical cycles, especially the sensitive soil carbon and nitrogen cycles. In addition to droughts, another effect of climate change is flooding, which affects crop growth patterns. Flooding affects the soil abiotic and biotic properties, reducing soil productivity. For communities living along coastal and riverine regions, flooding events have huge negative effects on their well-being, as well as economic outputs. Poor populations, especially in slum areas located in these regions, are more affected by flooding because their incomes are directly affected by the weather, in addition to housing that is less protected during such events. The livestock growth and productivity are also negatively affected by climate change. The direct effect is on their health, growth, and reproduction, while indirect effects are due to the climate change effects on the pastures and crop feeds. In addition, livestock production is a leading cause of greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture, and therefore establishing a balance between productivity and environmental sustainability is an issue that requires attention from all stakeholders. So we're going to talk about the economic growth and the environment. First, economic growth has been associated with negative impacts on environmental sustainability and the general well-being of ecosystems. Historically, industries have and continue to rely on energy sources to drive economic growth. Economic growth has boosted human development, but increased energy consumption, which has driven high demand for fossil fuels. And more environmental pollution experienced the increased temperatures negatively affect populations whose economic contributions is largely outdoors, while droughts affects agricultural yields. Population growth sparked by increased industrialization has also strained the environment due to increased demand for raw materials to sustain the development of these populations. The demand for raw materials has driven production costs higher and increased the amount of waste materials generated by the production processes, which negatively affects the environment through increased pollution. Economic growth could embrace sustainability by using sustainable energy development. Sustainable energy development is presently a goal of many countries that seek to promote energy equity, energy security, and energy environmental sustainability. So, debates on the environmental sustainability and economic growth have given rise to strategies referred to as decoupling, relative or absolute. And Solomon and others explain that decoupling refers to the process of disentangling industrial growth from emissions level initially associated with it. Decoupling efforts are designated to each country responsible for the emissions and seek to reduce the annual emissions level during economic production, consequently reducing the negative environmental toll. After that, we're going to talk about the government policy. begin with, the European Union has championed environmental protection and conservation measures through the European Green Deal. Established in 2019, the deal seeks to transform the European Union economies into resource-efficient economies. Some of the objectives of the deal include working to ensure no net emissions of greenhouse gas by 2050. Economic growth completely decoupled from resource use and ensuring that no one is left behind. Then the pollution prevention, we call this P2, is another initiative that targets sustainability and decoupling championed by the United States Environmental and Protection Authority. It is a framework that seeks to reduce, eliminate, and prevent pollution that at source before recycling, treatment, or disposal take place. There has also been an improvement in the management of municipal solid waste. We call that MSW to reduce the impact of plastics on the environment. In Europe, for example, recycling initiatives have been successful due to the stakeholder commitment to policy implementation, regulation, and tax penalties. In ensuring that air pollution is tackled, the Pollution Prevention Act, we call it the PPA Act of 1990, pushes for air pollution prevention at the source. By ensuring that the reduction of waste at the source is more desirable than pollution or management control, the Act pushes industries, government, and the public to chase compliance and escape regulatory consequences like fines and closures. Okay, in conclusion, human life and its sustainability is directly tied to the environment, and the pollution thereof poses a risk to the well-being of global populations. Large-scale pollution was first recorded during the onset of industrialization and with continued to industrialization. The scale of the production increased. Tackling climate change is a core responsibility of governments and stakeholders globally. Strides have been made across Europe and the United States, and the same can be replicated in other economies. That's all.